You guys know who Pat Robertson is. He's an extremely old fella, and I'm surprised that he is still holding strong at his station. I think he has his own TV show. He says a load of crazy shit. I recall many different things, talking about demons and saying that, not the prophets didn't just have that power. We have that power too. So this dude's out of his mind, of course. And he's a very old guy, but you have to question it at one point. You have to say, okay, do you really think this person believes what they're saying, especially when it comes to religious things? Political is one sphere, but once you get into religious stuff, it's a whole another sphere. And my belief was the whole time, this guy's faking it for cash, because that's what a lot of televangelists and these evangelists do a lot of times. And now a producer of his show, we'll figure out the name of it later when I read into it, but a producer has revealed that Pat Robertson was more concerned with money than Jesus. So Raw Story says, in a surprisingly candid interview with Vox, a former producer of Pat Robertson's 700 Club, so that's the name of his show, television show, said the evangelist was more concerned with raking in cash than using the Bible to save souls. Speaking with writer Tara Isabella Burton, former 700 Club producer Terry Heaton explained the culture that surrounded the popular televangelist TV show as it grew to prominence in the 80s and 90s. According to the former producer, who has just written, quote, The Gospel of the Self, How Jesus Joined the GOP, he had a religious awakening during that period, but that his newfound Christian beliefs didn't always jibe with the vision of Robertson. Heaton began explaining his reasoning for writing the book that attacks the hand that used to feed him. Quote, I wrote the book because I felt I needed to apologize for my role in what we have in front of us today, although I don't necessarily feel guilty about it. I just want to get it on the record that I participated in something that has turned out to be very bad. So a former producer of the show basically exposing him and saying, hey, that what he's doing is wrong. It's basically lying. It's telling, all these lies about the Bible and shit, really just for money. And we saw this. There was this Fox News reporter who had came out and talked about it, about Fox News, and we'll see these kind of things every once in a while. He says, according to Heaton, after he settled in at the 700 Club, he had a run-in with Robertson that opened his eyes as to what was important to the evangelist. Quote, we had this idea to do a series featuring a guy who always got things wrong so that Pat could then come on afterward and tell people what to do right. So we developed a new segment. The conceit was a character who always did things wrong so Pat could come out and teach him. Quote, the pilot was a guy who was constantly losing money because he was trying to give his way out of debt. So we'd look at the Bible where it says you receive 100-fold for what you give. And if he was $1,000 in debt, he'd give away $100, expecting to be able to pay off the debt. And at the end, he turns to the camera and says, what am I doing wrong? And we all thought it was brilliant. Quote, it turns out that abortion, gays and lesbians, and birth control, they're all about sex. Sex, more than everything else, scares people who want their children to be safe and to live in a sanctified world. I don't want to overstate that, but it's the truth. What we gave them was Republican Party politics. We had an explanation for all the fears. We lack of personal responsibility. Big government, people trying to take from you what really belongs to you. Self-responsibility, self-responsibility, self-responsibility. All those things worked very well with the type of Christianity we were preaching. So I encourage you strongly to go and read this because it's very interesting. Because, we see these people, and like I said earlier, you get to the question of, do these people really believe what they're saying? Because they sound fucking crazy. What's up, guys? It's Saul Hill here. You guys are watching The Progressive Voice. Make sure you guys click subscribe down below. We're fighting Donald Trump tooth and nail, and we need your help.